My kids are about to go to a camp where they go way, way, way up north, and they do long canoe trips like that. We like the country, our family. Okay, we like in the summer to go into the woods, and you got to be smart about the bears. If you're on a portage in backcountry, maybe wear a bear bell. I've done expeditions in the Arctic where you have to. They literally, the RCMP will say, "I hope you have a gun," because of the polar bear situation. But if you're a BC park ranger like Jordan Carbery, you live with bears all the time. You see them, you love them, you pose with them, but then they're bears. And Jordan was attacked by a bear. It's the most riveting attack, and we've got him on the line. Jordan, great to have you here.
Thank you.
Jordan, you're a park ranger, so you know more about bears. You're in Bella Coola, BC, so there's a lot of bears in that part of the British Columbia. What happened to you?
Well, it was a minor oversight that very closely cost me my life, or very nearly cost me my life. It was something else. I had come home the next day. I was away for a week, came back to my rental place there in Bella Coola, saw some bears in a cherry tree just on the other side of the forest, and I decided to continue up the driveway to kind of push them a little bit further away from my house so that I could unload my stuff getting back from that week. And then I went to sleep that night, woke up the next morning, looked through the forest again and saw there's some commotion on the other side. I actually heard some loud snapping noise or whatever, so I went out to investigate. I figured it was probably bears, and I normally do carry my camera with me, and I just, out of habit, grabbed it as I was walking out. Walked, 30 or 40 feet out of my front door and saw the bears in the tree, cherry tree, and took a couple pictures.
These are grizzly bears. These are grizzly bears.
These are grizzly bears, yes, but they were pretty big. So I was thinking from the night before, because of their size, that they were on their own, and so I kind of went out and made that assumption, which, there's that expression, if you assume things, you make an ass of you and me, but the bear kind of changed it around a little bit, and I made an assumption, and the bear bit me in the ass.
Yeah, technically not in the ass. This is where it gets worse. What happened exactly? Now, bears. You're a park ranger. So you felt comfortable enough. You see some grizzly bears. Just so people know, Bella Coola is sort of mid-BC, interior, north of Vancouver area, just so people have a sense of it. But if
Sure.
Grizzlies are dangerous, and I've always been taught that, back away from the bears, but you seem comfortable with bears. What happens when you see these bears and all of a sudden things go from photo op to basically a fight for your life?
Yeah, and that's a very good description, because that's exactly what it was. So I had given the cubs, again, I thought they were on their own, so I'd given them lots of room. I was closer to my house than I was to the bears, but then all of a sudden, one of the bears was on a branch and it snapped, and it made, a loud rifle crack type sound. And then I caught some motion in the extreme left peripheral of my eye and realized that I was in trouble instantly, because that was a mama bear. She was 2.5 times the size of these, what I thought were pretty decent sized bears already.
How big? If she stood on her hind legs, how big?
I probably around 7 to 8 feet.
And she's coming.
She wasn't standing. She didn't give me any of the normal sounds. Normally, when I see bears, they warn you. They give you a huff, or they give you a grunt or growl, or some sort of indication to back off.
Yeah.
That whole thing was skipped. That crack happened in the tree. Then I caught a slight movement of her, and she looked like she was on guard. And I have pictures of this, so I just don't have them with me or whatever. They're, I guess, taken as evidence. They found my camera and my ear and I don't like the idea of attack, because she was just defending her young. It's all on me.
Okay, but she charges at you.
She charges at me. I'm equidistant from her to the house, so I try to get back to the house, and I got 9/10 of the way there, and then she hit me from behind, sent me flying a good 10 feet. I landed on the ground, and she was on me. She picked me up by the head. My scalp ripped. She tore off my ear. She dropped me, then she came in again and grabbed me by the abdomen, basically, and then she bit me a few times on the legs. So I've got these really severe puncture marks on my legs,
oh my God,
and one on my butt as well. So she really did bite me in the butt. And it was a nightmare for sure, but there was a part, time stops or slows down anyway, and she was right at my belly, and I was standing up at this point, and I just decided to fight for my life. So I just started punching her in the back of the head, and then she kind of pushed me over again, and I found myself like right level with the ground, on the ground, and there's a defensive move that we've practiced with Ranger training, where we had just practiced like a month earlier, and it was all muscle memory at that point. And the scenario in the training was that, there's a big drunken camper, and he pushes you over and he's coming in to attack you. How do you defend against that? So from that position of vulnerability on the ground, she came at me again from my feet. So as she got close enough, I just started kicking her in the eyeball with my heel. I got 3 or 4 good strikes in, and that kind of stunned her. She sat back, and then I had time to push myself up, so I was standing at that point, and then she came at me again, and I tried to do a hammer fist, which is another thing that we train with defensive tactics. But she was so quick, she moved to miss that, and then I got kind of mad, and then I tried to do it again, like a little faster or harder or whatever, and she moved to the opposite direction, like she was a prize boxer.
So you guys are boxing. You are boxing with an 8-foot grizzly bear.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not recommending it.
No, I am not. But are you bleeding? Like your ear has been bitten off at this point? Your scalp is bleeding? Your leg has been punctured? She's knocked you in the back, so you must have a massive laceration or bruise. You are battered at this point. You're battered.
Yeah, but I'm full of adrenaline, and I'm fighting for my life at this point. So after I had kicked her in the face, stood up, and then she came at me again, she was defensive when I was striking at her. And that she kind of sat back a bit, and it just gave me 3 or 4 feet of separation. And I was only, 6 feet out of my front door. So at that point, I turned and ran into the house, knowing that I was in really dire straits and that I had to get to the hospital. And there's no cell reception where I live, and I don't have a landline. So I knew I had to get myself to the hospital. So I run into the kitchen where I normally have my car keys, which they were not there. So there was another panic moment there. I ran up the stairs, find them on my side table near my bed, grab them, run back down the stairs and out the door and going into the car to get myself to the hospital. And then I look up and she's coming at me for a, 4th time or whatever. But I managed to get in the car and head to the hospital. So
when you've got pretty bad injuries, right? You had to have surgery for what? I had an umbilical hernia, so she bit me right across my belly button and all the way across there. So that was the one that I was most concerned with. I just knew it was bad, but I didn't look at it. Right. I had clothing on, so I just kept one arm over it. And then as I'm driving, and of course I have a standard, so I have to change gears and steer with the one arm, and I leave the other arm over the injury. And I'm in a state, right? I mean, I know I'm in trouble and I have to get to the hospital. So I kept repeating to myself, don't pass out, don't pass out all the way. And I made the mistake at one point of looking in the rearview mirror to see the goriest scene I've ever seen in my life, which was my own face and blood just, all over it. Just like, are you missing your ear now?
Yeah, I've got a portion of it. I can still hear out of it. But the top 2/3 or so.
But you're okay now. Because that bear, I got a minute here. That bear, Jordan, could have ripped you to shreds. I mean, it did, but it could have killed you.
Oh, yeah. No. I'm the luckiest man you'll talk to today, I'm pretty sure.
You're a park ranger. Did you make an error? Like, did you learn something from this? Or was it just, hey, bears are bears?
She taught me a good lesson, and I am very conscientious, very cautious. I'm very aware. And for whatever reason, because I was near my house, I guess. And see, there's a really good message we need to get out there, though, and that's about attractant management. So this was a charged situation because there were at least 8 bears on the property, they figure, with the wildlife cameras now that they've got there. And they've each kind of established a territory around the tree, and they're fighting amongst each other as well. So they're already really defensive, really aggressive. And, I could have easily avoided this whole thing by just staying in the house.
I got 30 seconds
simple.
here, Jordan. I'm so glad you're alive, but the bear, they're not putting down the bear. That's the good news.
Thank goodness.
They're not destroying the bear. And the good news is you're alive. You got to be careful. That is I am 100% sure I am talking to the luckiest man today. Jordan, I love your empathy for the bear still. And thank goodness you're alive, Jordan. Thanks for telling us your story right here. Just a crazy story. Thank you, sir. Coming up, lots more. But boy, my breath is still gone from that.